Hello, I'm back to talk about more existence. I love existence and talking about what's going on in the world and the universe and our comprehension of what potentially is out there that others like to share and understand more and more. And start from my beginning of understanding of existence, I would conclude that the source of existence is God, and definition of God is something I don't think too many people really understand too well, and of course I don't understand fully, but I think clarify some things, kind of sort a couple things out, like difference between God and deity, divinity. A lot of people claim even certain foods are divine, which I would agree. That they're definitely top-notch foods that can whet the appetite and make the soul sing a little bit differently than your average vegetables or have whatever your food that stays on the plate than more in your mouth. But anyway, so God, the absolute, considered ultimate deity to the point where incomprehensible, my man, that basically God has to break out of absolute in order to reach us by splitting into less than what is absolutism, what have you. And to kind of put it together with the God I believe in, the living, eternal God, wasn't never a beginning, never an ending, always is, and also what is not. And it's another aspect of absolute. Every potential that you, anyone could think about has been actualized. Nothing new is to God. And there's some, we could talk about that and just argue about that all day long. What potentially could be new or experiential. Something you experience, if God can experience something new, or if He created us and us together, is that new? But at another time. So deity versus God. My understanding with the breakdown of the Father, you have the ultimate Father, the Father of Fathers, the universal Father, and within the escape from absolutism, there is the eternal Son that can eventuate and have branches of divinity, divine branches that bring about creator sons, a whole different paradise sons, whole order that come into our existence, our being in our local universe, which our local universe you could almost think of as like a sector of part of the whole existence, time and space being separate from eternity. Even have you say eternalized infinity. God the absolute has to escape from all that in order for time and space to even come about as a repercussion of His will. If God decided not to uphold existence anymore, everything would collapse, and the only thing that would exist is God, and all this time and space would disappear. It is only the will of God that we even get to enjoy life and have sorrows if we have them, and sadness or epiphanies and excitations, new awakenings, new openings to doors that we didn't even know existed in ourselves. So to bring it back around to the deity part, when the eternal Son and the universal Father, they co-parent the infinite spirit. Being infinite spirit, there's spirit in the universe, the different realities of every reality. I'm Some say there's 7 different realities, but 3 major. It's confusing even for me on what is actually the differences, and there's overlap and superpositions. Another time. I'm not prepared for that one yet. That's even crazier. So anyway, those 3 major entities make up the trinity of the first, second, third source, center of all existence. Everything else comes from that. Gravity, spiritual gravity, mind gravity, personality. Those circuits are all centered in those 3 entities in paradise, this isle of light. That's the only thing that's motionless. There's a central universe of 1 billion spheres around this paradise. And paradise is a gigantic mass of material. It is materialistic. There's material there. My belief. It's the most gigantic mass. And then think of like rings, little bicycle tubes surrounding a central hub of this massive giant piece of paradise that just probably brilliant light that you can only see with spirit eyes, spirit bodies, spiritness. And little bicycle tubes, and there's a ring of time and space where we exist in our universe, is super universe, and they break it down to 7. And 7 surrounding. And eventually, I'll have drawn it out and show what I see in my mind. And then even beyond that, they have different rings of high powers of energy, and then 4 separate levels of outer space past that. And those are just beginning to have nebula formation. And what our scientists probably look, depending on which way they look, they look in, try and look in, they're just going to see basically the radiation background, they call it, and they say that's it, there's nothing beyond it. But really? Okay. You don't know. Nobody knows but God, and you got to have faith. But the observable universe is still not observable by us. What we can see, what is out there, in my mind, what I believe. So that's kind of how I formulate the known existence. Before it was all imagine in my mind about heaven and what's out there. But the reason why we can't see the central universe is these giant dark space bodies circulate one of those rings around the central universe, and there's basically going opposite directions, and there's anti-gravity powers and all kinds of other energy manifestations and whatnot. Basically, that's hiding that aspect of existence, that central universe, the Paradise Havana circuit, have you. We're back in time and space, and we're way on the outskirts from that even. And then there's stuff beyond that. It's infinity and beyond. Man, I can't say that, right? But anyway, it keeps going because infinity doesn't stop. We know that. So deity is basically, in my mind, those let's see, activities, repercussions of God's will, and there's organized into different levels. This Urantia book claims there's 7 different ones. It gets into all that. I'm not going to break that down, but basically think of divinity and deity is similar. Deity can manifest separately from 3 different entities in paradise residents, have you, Universal Father, Eternal Son, and Infinite Spirit. Put them all 3 together, and they work together, or they become one, or however that works. To me, that's the ultimate deity that's possible. Separate, they have separate maybe powers and manifestations, do their separate work in different areas, but they all come together in one. And I don't understand it all. I don't think mortal man can understand that. But the simple deity that people talk about here, they think like a deity as just any god or whatever. And to me, it's more like a manifestation, having you blanketing, or powers that more invisible, more spiritual, but you know, still can be aware of, can be experienced. You can have even deity power like people visit and have bestows and teach humans. And one that I know of that people talk about still this day, on everyone's minds pretty much, if it's not, it ought to be, is Jesus of Nazareth. A man also known as Joshua ben Yosef. I'm sure back then they pronounced it even different. Matters how you pronounce the name, when he was born, none of that matters. What matters is that he did come, and he came to teach, and he came to reveal the universal Father, our Heavenly Father, in a better way, in a more accurate way, in a more loving way. God, I love you. I love everyone that understands. It's so amazing. Even those that don't understand, I'm starting to love you guys even more. Strangers don't need to be strangers. It's amazing what the heart can tell you. Some things probably aren't going to be accurate that come out of my mouth. Some things are going to be weird and goofy, maybe even contradictory. But I can tell you, some things I'm not really saying. They're just coming from the heart, and some of the chaos in my mind goes into some streams that I didn't even plan on, and it's good to hear feedback. And I have an amazing family. They've always been supportive, and to know that even if you don't have flesh family around, you always got a spiritual father. Always. There's always at least that guy looking out for you, no matter what. Even when you don't know it, he's out there, working always, upholding existence for everyone, even the wicked, the good, the righteous. The more we can get in line with his will, the more we can do his and not ours, the less selfish we'll be, the less prejudices we'll have. Prejudice is born in selfishness. You can look at someone you don't even know, and you just have good thoughts, not negative thoughts, like, oh, they're overweight, or they're smoking cigarettes, or whatever. You can get past all that. You can get good from evil, and maybe you can help. Maybe they're struggling, you don't even know. It's good to talk again. And yeah, that cheesecake is divine. All right, see y'all later. God bless.